Okay. All right, let me come back over here and let me pull this assignment up real quick and let me share. And I'm going to share this so that you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so while I was grading these, there were more wrong answers than right. All right, what you were supposed to do, and it was mostly the meiosis page, it wasn't so much the mitosis page. What you were supposed to do is to click on each of these things, and they will tell you exactly what. So this picture matched the picture on the worksheet, and a lot of you had it wrong. The other thing you need to remember that was clearly misunderstood is that the end of meiosis should have 4 cells. When you start meiosis, you have the 2 daughter cells, or in this case, the one diploid cell starts the process. It starts with a diploid cell that is it's going to do mitosis first. So you're going to start, and diploid, again, vocabulary, vocabulary, vocabulary. Diploid means that you have the total number of chromosomes, the 2N number. Okay, and we're going to be talking about that some more as we talk with the next unit on DNA. So you need to go back and look at the vocabulary for this unit before we start the next one. All right, so this picture matched exactly what was on the worksheet. So if you took, let me take mine like this, and I don't know how, let me see what you can, I don't know if you can't see me and it at the same time. All right, but looking at this worksheet, if you clicked on this picture, there was one that looked exactly like this. That was the diploid cell. And then you click on this one and it would say prophase, but would also have the written information at the top and it tell you exactly what's going on. Again, this picture had all the information in it that was on the worksheet, but you all labeled this badly. Okay, so I'm going to grade what's in there, but like I said, most of you are going to need to go back and look at this again because you did not label this page well at all. I think this was the class where the worksheet had labels on it already, and we always said that don't count. I don't know who put those answers on there, but they weren't necessarily the right ones. So it was up to you to go in and really look at this page and find the correct answers. Okay. All right, so that being said, so again, two pieces of warning. I need to unshare because I'm going back to the grade book. So again, anytime an assignment has a due date on it and you turn it in late, the grade book automatically puts a 0. I'm not sitting here putting zeros on your assignment. Okay? Now in this case, you see it says 0 out of 18. That means that you didn't get any of them right. Okay, so, and I don't know how that is anyway, because I haven't looked at yours yet. So that was one of those late ones that I haven't looked at. There are some that weren't late and I haven't looked at those either, because like I said, I got stuck on the ones that I did look at that were totally wrong. So I'm going to look at these and I'm put comments on which ones you got right and which ones you got wrong. But I expect you to take those worksheets and go back and look at them again so that you can correct it. I'm not regrading it, but you need to go back and correct it so that going forward that you know what's going on during mitosis and meiosis. I'll take the late off of it if it wasn't. It'll see it says. All right, in the meantime, okay. And I don't know, it doesn't say late, but and I don't know why they put the zeros in automatically, but I will check on that. So you won't lose any points if it's all right. Okay, you won't lose points for it being late. Okay, because I'm still grading them. Okay. So it's not an issue of is it late, it's an issue of is it correct? And I'll be grading those today while y'all are working. All right, that being said, I want you to look at the assignment for today. Let me go back to my page for today. Okay, while I'm going forward with going back to today's assignment. So I'm going back to your homepage and I'll share from there. Look at that as a student so that I know that, and I always try to do it from student view to show you what you should see when you look, where you find it. Okay, on the homepage, you're looking for case study, haunted heritage unmasked cold case. Yesterday was Halloween and I did this with the other class. And so we're going to, even though today's not Halloween anymore, we're still going to get this activity done. And I picked this activity because it has a DNA study and we are about to do DNA study. So this is a research project. Okay, so make sure anybody having trouble finding this. All right, let me know if you don't find it. Again, it should be on your homepage, on your to-do list. All right, so you have some background information. A family moves into an old Victorian house known for its eerie legends and ghost stories. One night, they discover a hidden compartment in the basement with an old torn journal and a small glass vial containing strands of hair and a few rusty metal tools. The, the journal hints at a mysterious disappearance from nearly a century ago, a family member who went missing under suspicious circumstances. Local records note that the disappearance is a cold case with no resolution, but the DNA evidence left behind may finally reveal truth. In other words, 100 years ago, they didn't have DNA evidence as far as trying to solve cases. Okay, but they do now. And they solve a lot of cases with DNA evidence. So we're going to take this cold case and we're going to take this little vial of hair and we're going to answer the following questions. Okay. And give a detailed answer to your question. In other words, you should have 2 or 3 sentences for each of these points. So you're going to research the process of gathering and preserving DNA samples from, and this is the part that's important, from historic objects. What do you need to do in order to gather evidence from historic objects? So you need to explain that. Next, you need to explore methods of extracting DNA from hair samples, discussing the challenges with degradation and contamination in the forensic analysis. So in other words, you have this old, first you want to figure out how to preserve this old sample. Then you're going to figure out how do I get DNA from this hair sample? Next, you want to discuss how the descendants in our time can, like the people who just moved into the house, they might be relatives. How are we going to test these relatives? What do we need to do to test the relatives to see if their DNA matches your DNA sample that you just got? And finally, and this is like your conclusion, you want to provide multiple outcomes. So in other words, 2 or 3 answers, maybe just two answers, 2 possible answers as to what these findings have told you or can tell you. Okay. All right. So again, this is a research project. I need to change the date for you all. It's due. Oh, no, I don't have to change the date. It's good for you too. All right. So Wednesday is due Wednesday. Okay. Any questions? Anybody unclear? So yes, you do need to start looking this up. While you're doing that, I will check on those. Let me start GoGuardian so that in case certain places are blocked, they won't be. All right. And the other thing, and I've discussed this with Miss Martin as well, we got 2 or 3 of you all who log in and then disappear. And so that's absent. If you're logged in and GoGuardian says you've been idle for 20 minutes, that means you logged in and took a walk. You're not present. So don't do that. Because I'm not marking you present if it says you've been idle for 20 minutes. We've been in class 20 minutes. So that's logging in and taking a hike. Don't do that. All right, when I look at GoGuardian, I should see everybody's pulled up and they're ready to do the assignment. Now, what you can do is create it on a Word document or a Google document and then copy and paste it into your page. When you finish, please read what you pasted. I had somebody who copied and pasted and it was all, none of the sentences matched. So it did not come across, didn't paste well. So please reread what you send me before you send it, because I'm going to grade it as is. So in other words, if I can't read it, I can't grade it. Okay. All right. Any questions? So again, I will, oops, sorry. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Everybody should be. All right. So now the only person I have logged in that's not working is Maxwell. Not really logged in. Also, I appreciate you being on time because then I don't have to repeat the assignment. All right, Kashawn, go to your homepage. There's an assignment there, a case study that you need to research. All right, so this is not a story that you're making up, folks. You're doing research. This is a research paper. You're giving factual information about the process that you would go through if you were investigating the remains of the only set of remains that you have. You don't have a body, all you have is a hair sample. And how are we going to identify this person just using this hair sample? Through DNA testing. Okay, how is DNA testing going to help us identify this person? All right, Kashawn, don't worry about that cell cycle activity. That's not the one you need to look at. Let me pull it up again. So that's not the one you need to do. Although, folks, right, what you should be working on is this. All right, that's what you need to work on. So again, you have a scenario in the background. And it wouldn't hurt to copy and paste the scenario to the top of your assignment. Although that's not the part that gets graded, so that doesn't count as far as what you are graded on, but it should be present. All right, your question is, how do we solve this case? And I should have put, how do we solve this case using the DNA evidence? Okay, so we're not trying to come up with all the other ways that we don't have a body. So the only thing that we can do with this evidence is do DNA testing. Okay. So you are researching, how do you test historical objects? Again, how do you gather? There's a process. It is a delicate way to gather this information. How do we retrieve and preserve this information before we start testing it? Okay, that's what the first question is asking you. Before we start doing any tests at all, how do we gather it and how do we preserve it to be tested? Second question is asking you, now that we have it gathered and preserved, what steps do we take to extract the DNA from a hair sample, an old hair sample that might degrade while you're trying to do this? After you've done that, you want to contact people who might be related to this person. Remember, we are trying to solve this case. So now that we've got the information about the DNA, now we need to compare this DNA to people who might be related. And so what is the process? What do you need to do to get somebody's DNA sample? All right. And then lastly, you're going to come up with a conclusion. Now that you've matched it with people and you've figured out how to, now you're not really trying to identify a person, but you're giving me procedures. What step would be the result of the finding? What can you do with the findings that you come up with as far as this cold case is concerned? All right. So you need to have 4 pieces of information in your document when you send it. And again, it says detailed information. Be as detailed as you can. In other words, 1 or 2 sentences on each of these is not going to cut it. All right. And as far as, I did see some people trying to do this. As far as the extra credit worksheet, you should, I know I said you only had to include the picture. And remember, your picture is not going to look like the one on the front page of the instructions. You should include both pages so that when I know, when the colors don't match, I'll know which question you got wrong. Okay, so if you do the questions correctly, it should look more like this than it will the other page. Okay, and what I'm talking about is it's not going to look like the one on the instruction page or the introduction page. Right, so what I did, I made kind of a mess. I kind of color coded my page to begin with, and then I took those colors and colored my diagram. All right, so that's what you need to do. That one's not due until next Friday. That's kind of a extra credit thing. Something you can work on over the weekend, but don't work on it now. All right, make sure that when your answers are related to, I don't need general information. We want information on how do we get the DNA from a hair sample, an old hair sample. Okay, so I don't need general information. We are specifically trying to get DNA with an old hair sample. Are you allowed to print what? The extra credit? I suggest you print the extra credit. That's what you're asking me, Zyla. So yes, I do suggest that you print it, color it, and then upload it back. I think if you tried to color it using the web tools, that'd be kind of messy because there's some intricate little shapes on this. So yes, print it, color it, load it back. All right, so again, folks, when you're writing your answer, we are specifically trying to look at how do you get an DNA sample from an old historic specimen. That's what you want to do. Do some research, do some research, do some research. Your answer should be directed at this hair sample that we have. Three, there is no telomerase 3. Oh, excuse me. Still in the waiting room. Oh. Just had this conversation. All right, so all of the mitosis, meiosis worksheets that have been submitted have been graded. So please take a look at the comments that were made so that you can make corrections. But again, don't send it back because I'm not checking it again. Maxwell, now that you, never mind. It's not Maxwell. Okay. And Maxwell's not here anyway. All right, Landon, you just submitted yours today, so that's why it was marked late. Everybody else, no, no lates were applied to it. The description, you wrote the answers for the description based on the letters that you applied. So you need to make sure, so if they don't match, you need to make sure that they do match. In other words, if you went, um, Natalie, and just wrote answers down, descriptions down, and then you wrote your letters wrong, you need to make sure that on both the picture and the letters coming down in other words, yes, you should have correct definitions for your words. But if you've got wrong letters identifying what your information with the wrong pictures, then that needs to be corrected. Okay. So in other words, if you said, you wrote the correct information for diploid cell, but then you called it D, then that's not correct. So you might not need to change your description if you wrote it correctly, but you do need to change your letters. So putting the wrong letter on the wrong description is not a right answer, if that's what you're asking. Because basically you're describing the wrong picture. Yes, Ariana, that's correct. So the letters that I put on there, C, H, and I, those are the ones that are correct. And again, folks, I based that on how you labeled the picture. So if you labeled the picture wrong and then put that letter with the description, then it doesn't match. So again, if you wrote your description based on what it said on the first page and you didn't write it based on what the picture said, but you put a letter matching that description and it was not right, that's what you need to fix. Which letter or picture matches your description? So you need to check both. You might not need to redo what you wrote, but you definitely need to make sure that what you wrote matches the letters for the pictures that you chose. Okay, give me a minute and I'll pull up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second to finish this. Okay. Let's see. Not surprised. Okay. Ariana. All right, Ariana, I'm going to, I hope you don't mind. Uh, let's see, how am I going to do this without, there we go. Okay, I'm going to share your paper so that I can explain this, and everybody might benefit from this. Okay, so what I'm talking about, for example, in this case, all right, the diploid cell should be F, okay? And what you have up here shows homolog chromosome typical diploid cell. All right, so what you have written up here is correct under diploid cell, but then you have it labeled D. So D, when I look at the description and I look at D, that's not the same. So your description can stay, but your letter has to change on your diagram, and your caption needs to change. All right, prophase 1, homolog chromosomes underlining crossing over. Okay, so again, what you wrote for prophase 1 is correct. The letter is wrong. So you need to change the letter, and then you need to go, it should be G. So you need to go and change what's written under G, because what you have here labeled, the picture that your picture label doesn't match your description. So this is what I'm talking about, but this is not just on her paper. Most of you got this wrong, except for Zyla and Kashan, I think. Yo got it right. Okay. 2 people got 18 out of 18. So you're good. But everybody else had major misconceptions. So again, if you went through all of the words and then copied what it said for those words, then that's correct. What you don't have correct are the letters matching the pictures. So okay, let me say this again. All right, I'm looking at your paper the way it's written right now. You have, and again, I think what happened too is on this particular page, one of the pages had letters already printed on it. And I said to you when I printed it, because somebody asked me, why are the letters already on the page? I said, those are wrong. Do not assume that those were correct. Okay, so make sure, so I said that to you all ahead of time, that I don't know why that came up like that, but they were wrong. Okay, you were supposed to, so most of you obviously didn't hear me, but you were supposed to check your pictures with your words. Okay, that's what you were supposed to do. We did recognize that the copy of the worksheet that you got had letters on it, and then all of those letters were wrong. Actually, I think except for maybe 2. So if you just went by what letters were in there and thought all you had to do was write, and even still, I think C was correct. Most of you got the C correct, but the letters that were on the worksheet that was printed were wrong. So yeah, these look like pre-printed things. So go back and take those letters out and put the correct letters in. Right. So again, some of you all tune me out and don't listen all the time. Or maybe it was when during a bathroom break or something like that. But somebody had noticed that the worksheet came up that you all pulled up had letters already on it. And I'd said to you, those letters are wrong. Please do your own checking. All right. Landon, yours was correct too. Your score ended up like that because it was late, but three of you got it right. And am I saying your name right? Is it Zayla or Zyla? You can unmute and tell me. First one, Zayla. Okay. Okay. So it was Zayla, Kashan, and Landon got it right. Everybody else needs to check their worksheet or submit it in the first place. Okay, folks. It is